Do you really need to fill all 15 headlines in every responsive search ad? Google lets you add up to 15 headlines, but does that actually mean you should? Hey, I'm Jasmin and I teach Google Ads in a simple, beginner-friendly way. One question I get quite often is, should I always fill all 15 headlines? Let's talk about why adding fewer headlines can sometimes be the smarter choice. So yes, Google Ads allows you to put 15 headlines in a responsive search ad. Here you can see some examples for the headlines. Yeah, you can add up to 15 headlines, and it allows you to add up to 4 descriptions. So Google then mixes and matches these assets to find the best performing combinations. That sounds great, technically, but there's one important thing many beginners overlook. So with 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, the responsive search ads can generate over 40,000 possible text combinations, giving Google many different ways to assemble your ads. More headlines simply mean more possible combinations. So the more headlines you add, the more possible ad combination Google has to test. So if your campaign receives thousands of impressions every week, that's usually not a problem. But if you're a local business spending only $10 or $20 per day, Google has much less data to work with. Let me give you an example. Let's say you run a local plumbing business. Your campaign only gets around 20 to 30 clicks per week. If you have added now all the 15 headlines here, it means that Google now has hundreds or even thousands of possible combinations to test. So that means it can take much longer before Google understands which headlines actually perform the best. So what I usually recommend is that for smaller Google Ads accounts, I often start with 6 to 8 highly relevant headlines only. And then I add 2 to 3 strong descriptions. So this gives Google Ads enough variety without creating an overwhelming number of combinations. So once the campaign has collected enough data, you can always add more headlines later. And if you want to know how to write converting ad copy, check out the following video, which is linked here. So quality simply beats quantity. Instead of writing 15 average headlines, I would rather have 6 to 8 excellent headlines, each focus on a different benefit or selling point. For example, you can add headlines like that: plumber in Melbourne, need a plumber, 24/7 emergency service, or things like same-day appointments, trusted since 2012. So that's much better than filling out just all 15 headlines just because you can. Let me give you a quick recap of what I just said. So, do you need all 15 headlines in Google Ads? Not always. For smaller accounts with limited traffic, starting with 6 to 8 strong headlines is often a much more practical approach. Focus on quality first, and then expand as your campaign collects more data. So I'm not saying you should never use all 15 headlines. For larger accounts with a lot of traffic, that can absolutely make sense. But if you're just starting out or have a smaller budget, fewer high-quality assets often make it easier to learn what actually works and what doesn't work. If this video helped you better understand responsive search ads, feel free to subscribe for more beginner-friendly Google Ads tutorials. I post simple Google Ads tips every week.